A dual relationship I thought of based off the readings this week was a scenario where a counselor and a client live in the same rural area. They could be involved in the same school system or involved in the same activities. And a specific scenario that I came up with related to this was if a counselor and a client, if they have kids around the same age and the kids would be involved in the same school system and potentially the same sports team, and they end up wanting to hang out and become friends, and the parents, which would be the counselor and the client, end up sharing cell phone information to talk outside of the counseling relationship. That could be a very realistic scenario in which this could happen. Benefits to this type of dual relationship include a greater trust being established between the client and the counselor, as well as a greater shared understanding of lifestyle and culture, which should create greater congruence within the counseling relationship, growing that therapeutic reliance. Risks of this, however, could be a power dynamic that gets created that leads to transference from the client onto the counselor, where experiences outside of the counseling relationship are brought into counseling. And similarly, the counselor could bring in some countertransference as well from that same thing. Seeing the client more in their natural habitat could cause some bias to kind of generate, and less objectivity on the counselor's perspective could be brought into counseling there, creating some countertransference in the counseling relationship. Thinking of information that I might self-disclose in instances where I may do that in counseling, a specific detail I thought I might share would be when asked about my religion. I think I would disclose that I am a Christian, that I believe in Jesus, but I think I would leave it at that. And as well, making sure that that wouldn't harm my client by disclosing that information. I think I would limit that to, as well, to not delving deeper into theological viewpoints or biblical hermeneutics or anything of that nature, as I don't think that would benefit the client most likely and the goal of counseling, but would instead shift the focus onto myself. And I think just being in that instance where I'm asked about religion, I would acknowledge the question by answering it and moving forward, especially if the client has disclosed that they're Christian or asked for faith integration themselves. I think this could lead to greater congruence in the counseling relationship. Similarly, I think I would self-disclose by default by wearing my wedding ring, self-disclosing that information that I am married, which could again lead to greater lead to greater congruence if the client is married or having relational struggles as well. I also think that life stage and age could be an important factor on whether to self-disclose information to clients. For example, when working with kids or children, self-disclosure may not make sense in many cases. It just might not be beneficial for the welfare of the client. However, for young adults and teenagers, self-disclosure might be more beneficial in that it could build more trust with the counselor, and that the client may find more comfort in the counselor self-disclosing some personal information, maybe something like what their life experiences could have been like at that stage in life, to help relate a little bit to the client there, as there may be some fear, intimidation factors occurring for the client in a novel counseling relationship.